yourself a cold one.
Let's strike 'em, huh?
And listen to Ross Tucker break down the top college prospects on another tasty edition of The College Draft.
Yeah, it's Daddy Soda time here on the College Draft Podcast presented by DraftKings. Still giving you $150 in free bets when you bet $1. Dollar bills, y'all. I'm Ross Tucker, former NFL offensive lineman, 5 teams, 7 years. You all know that. If you check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL, you can see the helmets and the game balls behind me. That is the proof that I played for other teams for a while. Wow, I just noticed my hair doesn't look great. That's okay. We don't get that many people watching on YouTube anyway. No big deal. Most of you listen. That's fine. Check me out on social media at Ross Tucker NFL. We are at Ross Tucker Pod. But he, who is the star, is at F-Ball Game Plan on Twitter. That's Emory Hunt. Calls 2 games every weekend. He's the CBS Sports HQ maestro. And no matter what cable or satellite you have, I mean, Emory's got his own shows on his own channels on the weekend talking about football. It is crazy. Football Game Plan on YouTube, footballgameplan.com/2022 draft guide, the best draft guide out there. Emory, how'd you get your own channels or at least your own shows on channels on TV, dude? That's crazy.
It was crazy because it was something that was in the works since March, because I was doing this women's tackle football weekly show on the same network, Next Level Sports. And I just asked the question like, hey, man, who's in charge of programming? They made the connection. I pitched the idea for a 3-hour small college football block. And they were like, yeah, this is great. You know, it's something that was in line with what I was already doing. And it's easy to produce these 3-hour shows, these, you know, each 1-hour episodes of small college football, HBCU football, and FCS football every Saturday from 9 to noon. So it's just been fantastic. And that's on top of the NFL show I do every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time on Game Plus Network, which is on cable. But this one here is on Direct TV and also other cable providers. So it's been a blast, and I'm excited. I also got to give a shout out to the Ivy League, because those Ivy digital shorts that I do have been blowing up on ESPN Plus. So it's been a busy football season, but the more football, that means more times to see Emory Hunt face all over your TV and internets.
So way you do it, man. You got to keep hyping up Princeton. They are loaded so far. I'm liking what I'm seeing from my Tigers. Hopefully they can keep it going moving forward. Let's get to some of the big games this weekend. As always, we are 3 podcasts in one: a college football podcast, a college football betting podcast, and an NFL draft podcast. Arkansas is at Georgia. A lot of talent in this one. Georgia's favored by 18.5. That surprises me, Emory. Let's start with Arkansas and the linebacker Bumper Pool. I'm already in the pool. I'm already all in on Bumper Pool just based on his name.
Absolutely. If he doesn't have a Bumper Pool sponsorship already, then the business is not doing it right. You know, get that man a pool table, the Bumper Pool table right away. But I'm a big fan of his as well. He does a great job on both ends of defense. I think, is one of the newer age inside linebackers. He can blitz. He chases the run well. He gets through the trash really well, covers really well in the short zone area, and has a great sense of timing. He's making big play after big play, tip passes, interceptions. I like this guy, and I feel like he's someone. Again, if I need an inside backer, if I'm the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm taking Bumper Pool with one of those 3 first-round picks. He's tremendous.
Georgia, we can talk about the quarterback, JT Daniels, and the linebacker, Walker.
Well, this would be a big game for JT Daniels. We know he loves to work touchdown to check down. So the deep ball and the arc that he puts on it is fantastic. But how he handles pressure, in my opinion, will be key in this game. So that's something I'm going to be watching from him, because that's how I judge quarterbacks, how well you deal with pressure. And Quay Walker, someone that has slowly worked himself into the lineup, long documented, had his issues early on in terms of not getting the right playing time, but he's finally broken through. And he, like Bumper Pool, is an athletic inside backer that can blitz, that can, stack and shed, that can, get pressure off the edge, cover, is going to be key for him in this ball game, how well he can deal in the short intermediate area. I'm going to be interested to see in that. But he's a little bit bigger, maybe like 6'3", 6'4", 240, so he's a bit longer, rangier inside backer. But he's another one that, like Bumper Pool, is someone that can play right away as a rookie if you're projecting him to the NFL level.
18.5 points feels like a lot of points against a good Arkansas team, Emory.
Yeah, do they expect the freshman to go back in there and play? Are they not expecting KJ Jefferson to be out there? Because if he's out there, you could easily shave off 8.5 points. So based off that alone, I'm taking Arkansas on the points. And this is now the new America's team. Everybody's all in on Arkansas. They're all in on Sam Pittman. This is a tight game. I feel like this is going to be a very good contest. Two outstanding defenses. We'll see this be a tighter matchup.
Iowa is at Maryland. Iowa favored by 4. They got a DN named Zach Van Valkenburg. I feel like Iowa always has 2 or 3 guys with last names like that, like Valkenburg, Van Valkenburg. Like, they always have dudes with names like that.
They do, and they always fill out the back of the jersey. When you see Iowa, you think they're the college Pittsburgh Steelers, how long, these names are, how big block letters. They're broadcast dreams, by the way. If you're covering the Iowa game, you can see those numbers from a mile away. But Van Valkenburg is another guy I feel like been there for 10 years. So he transferred in, has played well, solid on both ends, maybe not dynamic, but enough to where he can affect the game plan. In this ball game against Maryland, how active he can be against the quick passing game of Talia Tagovailoa and what they want to do throwing the football is going to be key. I want to see him be a little bit more I don't want to say assertive, but more explosive off the ball and more, direct in terms of affecting the game. I don't want to see any more, second chance sacks. All those are great. They count as sacks on the stat book, but I want to see impactful first chance opportunities to affect the passing game from him.
Maryland's got a wide receiver that's caught your eye in Dante Demas Jr.
This dude finds the end zone. Like, all he does is catch touchdowns, like Chris Carter, right? This is someone that, has good size, not afraid to go over the middle of the field, can make catches in contact, and has good strength because he'll break tackles and has a good speed to really take it to the house. So if they're going to win this game over Iowa and pull off the upset, he's going to have to find the end zone once again. So has great real estate property in the end zone already. So I'm excited to see how he's working against. We talked about the cornerback of Iowa. I think that's going to be the big matchup to watch. But we talked about him before, Iowa's cornerback. So now we got to talk about the receiver that he's going to face. So that's why I chose Demas over someone else for Maryland. But him finding the end zone will be key because he's found the end zone a lot this season.
What do you think on the spread, Emory, with Iowa favored by 4 on the road?
It's tough. I jumped on Maryland a lot last year, thinking that they were bad, and then they end up winning and covering. Now this year they're good. I'm like, oh no. But Iowa, again, is not explosive offensively, but they are opportunistic defensively. I think just by the nature of how Maryland plays, that ball is going to be prone to getting turned over. So I'm going to lay these 4 points with Iowa. And I'm saying right now, I'm willing to sweat it out in this one because I feel like this will be a lot closer than people think. And it'll be one of these late Hawkeye type scores that'll get the points for Iowa. Now, if this game was played at Iowa and at night, then you just have all the comfort in laying those points with Iowa. But because it's a day game at Maryland, I'm leery, man. You don't want to play the Iowa Hawkeyes at night.
Really looking forward to this Cincinnati at Notre Dame game. The Bearcats, the Cincinnati Bearcats, are favored by 2.5 at Notre Dame. Incredible. Should be an awesome game. Brian Kelly's former team against now his current team. Let's start with Cincinnati's safety, Brian Cook.
I covered him when he was at Howard, so I broadcast a couple of their games when Coach Mike London was the head coach there, and Brian Cook was the safety. This guy can play safety. He can play corner. He literally can play across the secondary, inside, boundary, field side, free, strong safety. Doesn't matter. This is someone that has versatile skills, ball skills, very good athleticism. He transferred back to Cincinnati because he's a Cincinnati kid, And so once the coaching staff left Howard, he just transferred back home and went up to the Bearcats and has done a solid job there. You saw him in that game against Georgia last year, playing on the outside, playing safety. He has good ball skills, good instincts. I think this is someone people need to talk more about. They talk about Sauce Gardner, rightfully so. Brian Cook is a really good prospect in his own right.
For Notre Dame, there's always a bunch of guys we can discuss. Let's dive into the wide receiver, Avery Davis.
I think he's explosive, man. I feel like Notre Dame, quite honestly, the last couple of years, going back to Miles Boykin, has produced some underrated or sneaky, explosive athletes at wide receiver. And I feel like he's the next one in line. And we saw him have a really good game before against Wisconsin. I think that's going to have to happen again. So I feel like this is someone that, because of how Notre Dame has developed that position, he's physical, he's explosive, and I'm excited to see how he's going to do against a top-tier defense that's going to key on him.
All right, Emory, moment of truth for this one. Cincinnati favored by 2.5 on the road against the undefeated Irish. What are you doing?
Well, there's a lot of storylines talking about Brian Kelly. You look at the defensive coordinator for Notre Dame. Was the defensive coordinator for Cincinnati as well. But this is Cincinnati's Super Bowl, their Federal Express Orange Bowl, their Nathan's Hot Dog Tournament Eating Championship. This is their World Series. This is their, World Cup. This is their biggest game, right? This is the game that they're going to say, we deserve to be in the playoff. And so that's why they're favored, but they're also favored because we don't know who's Notre Dame's quarterback going to be in this game. So with that being said, expect a 4-quarter flurry from the Bearcats. They're going to win this game. They're going to win it impressively, but they're not going to get the outcome that they want, because what's going to happen, the College Football Playoff Committee will say, yeah, you beat Notre Dame, but you beat them without their starting quarterback, Jack Cohn. So it's still going to be the same thing for Cincinnati. So I'm laying those points with the Bearcats.
Interesting. So even if they beat Notre Dame, they still will have an excuse for why they're not in the college playoff.
Bro, it is not happening for no team not named SEC, Big Ten, and sometimes ACC. It's not happening.
I think it's probably fair. That's a shame, by the way. And it's also a shame that some people that are losing their hair still aren't doing anything about it. Guys, what are you doing? 2 out of 3 men will experience some form of hair loss by the time they're 35. Hand raised, 26 years old, on my wedding day. Didn't even realize it till I go back and look at wedding videos. I was already losing my hair, and I'm mad I didn't know about the 2 FDA-approved medications that actually can prevent hair loss. The FDA approved them. Means they have scientific evidence that they work. Keeps offers both. I no longer have to go to the doctor to get the prescription. I no longer have to go to the pharmacy to pick it up. You do it all online with Keeps. Treatment starts at $10 per month. Plus, I'll give you a month free. How about this? If you're ready to take action like I did and do and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/draft to receive your first month of treatment for free. That's KEEPS.com/draft to get your first month free. Keeps.com/draft. And remember, those of you that listen to other shows, if I get a Keeps, somebody signs up for Keeps this week, send it to me. You are going to be the Madden winner this week. So hit me up with it. All right, hit me up with this Ole Miss Alabama game, Emory. And we got to start. Bama's favored by 14.5. Man, they really want you to take Ole Miss. They really want you to take those 14.5 points. By the way, you were awesome again last week, Emory. I don't remember, but I think you got like all your bets right last week again. But at any rate, let's go to Matt Corral, the quarterback for Ole Miss.
Corral has a live arm. I think from a comparison standpoint, I know people are already putting him as QB1 in the draft. This happens every week. Any quarterback has a really good game that everybody's watching. He's next in line to be QB1. I think we need to pump the brakes. But if we're talking about comparison, he reminds me a lot of Drew Lock in terms of how well he plays with confidence. This is a confident dude. So he's going to throw the football where it needs to be thrown, even in some places that's not supposed to be thrown. He's going to fit it in there. He's going to do what he can to pick up yards with his legs. He's a very good athlete. He's a dynamic athlete, maybe not to the level of Malik Willis, but he's a quick twitch athlete, put it that way, and can throw from many different arm angles. I worry about his weight. I feel like he could use to add a little bit more bulk. But I want to see him play with a little bit more calm and control in this matchup. We know Alabama will challenge a team to make the safe decision. He's going to have to be comfortable with that throughout this game. So I'm interested to see how he manages this game. I know about the physical tools and all of that. Like I said, he physically and how he plays, his style reminds me a lot of Drew Lock when he was at Missouri.
Interesting comparison there. Corral was an Army Bowl guy that I got a chance to meet and talk with. I forget, did he go somewhere else first, or was he committed somewhere else first? He definitely at some point decommitted and then switched to Ole Miss. I can't remember where he was going to be going at first. What about Bama? Their running back, Brian Robinson. Is this like his 5th or 6th year, but he's never really been the guy because he always had a guy like Najee Harris ahead of him?
Yeah, and this, I think, is his 5th year. He came back for the free year that everyone got because of COVID. And this is a big game for him, man, because I feel like his role in this part of the offense, the run game, is not what it was last year when they had Najee Harris, and when they also had that back and forth game with Ole Miss. I think it's going to be up to Robinson, who seems to be more along the lines of a good complementary back, like a Latavius Murray or someone like that. Someone that you can trust to really get the short yardage gains, but no one you really want to hang your hat on and say this is the bell cow. But he has a chance to prove that he can be a bell cow, and it starts in games like this. And I feel like when I go back and look at my scouting report on him last year, I felt like he was a comp guy. I still feel that way. He could change my mind with a good showing here and then carry that performance on. So I feel like for him, just because of how I had him graded last year when I thought he was a senior and it was coming out, I want to see it just a little bit more, something that leaves you to say, all right, I could see him being, the starter. Can he be a Chris Carson, or is he going to be someone that you're going to have to pair with someone and have him in rotation?
Interesting. All right. Bama's laying 14.5. Florida played them tough. Ole Miss has a potential number 1 pick quarterback. What are you doing with this spread, Emory?
I'm going to be that guy and take Ole Miss in the points. Lane Kiffin is the Gargamel to Nick Saban's Smurfs, right? He is the fly in the ointment. He seems like the only coach that knows how to, 1, get under Nick Saban's skin, 2, get under his defense's skin, and put points up on the board. And I think the difference this year for Ole Miss, albeit we haven't seen it against a team like Alabama, their defense may be actually really good this year. So I expect this game to look a lot like Florida, a tighter game, back and forth. Ole Miss will go up and down the field. Saban will be upset. He's going to blow a gasket. At some point in this game, Lane Kiffin is going to get him under his skin early, or get under his skin early, and it's going to be a fun game, entertaining game that I'm excited to watch. So definitely take Ole Miss in the points. And whatever that over is, definitely smash that over, unless it's some dumb number like 80. I remember we had one of those last year, but definitely take the over and also Ole Miss in the points.
There's a lot of good games this weekend.
There is.
I mean, first weekend in October, I'm just looking like there's a lot in the Big Ten. Arkansas, Georgia, Cincinnati, Notre Dame, Ole Miss, Alabama. Next up, we'll talk about Auburn, LSU. But even Rutgers and Ohio State, I'm intrigued by. I mean, there's just a bunch of games I'm going to be into this weekend. Looking forward to it. By the way, I will be doing Western Michigan, which has beaten back-to-back weeks Pitt and San Jose State. I'll be doing the Broncos at UB against the Bulls. What do you got this weekend, Emory?
I have high school. I have Shippensburg and Mechanicsburg on Friday.
Oh, okay.
Night. Should be a good one. And Saturday, I have Morgan State taking on St. Francis.
Oh, got it. St. Francis is former teammate of mine is the head coach, Chris Valerio. We were teammates in Buffalo for a couple of years.
And he was an excellent bearer too.
Yes. Yeah, so strong, dude. I saw him incline 495 for like 12 on incline.
Oh my God.
Like strong, just barrel chest. And the thing is, his dad was built just like him. His dad had this like huge barrel. I was like, oh, well, now I know. That's not fair. I get so mad. My dad's 5'9", $170, cut from the high school basketball team. Every time I'm like, oh, this guy's like me. He's a foil. And then I see their dad. I'm like, oh, well, okay. Now it makes a lot more sense. All right. Finally, Emory, Auburn is at LSU. LSU is laying 3.5. Auburn seems to have a quarterback situation. Talk to me about it. There were people that were talking up Bo Nix before the year like he might be the number 1 overall pick. Now he's kind of benched. I actually thought he played okay against Penn State, although they ran the ball a lot that game. What happened where Auburn already benched Bo Nix? And I don't know who we're going to get. Auburn's not saying.
Yeah, it's a thing. This started when TJ Finley, a.k.a. Big Ponchatoula, transferred from LSU to Auburn. And that started back in the spring. It was like, man, if Bo Nix doesn't have any success, they have Finley there, and they're going to throw him in the mix. Last week was the perfect storm. They're out there in a tussle with Georgia State, gave them the right opportunity to throw in Big Ponchatoula, who literally can throw the football a mile. I'm not exaggerating. And he dropped some weight too. So he looked slender. He looked sleek than what we saw last season from him. You see a little bit more confidence in his throws. So we'll see if that revenge factor will play into this game against LSU, because that's the storyline here. Big Ponchatoula versus his former team in LSU.
Who do you like with LSU laying the 3.5?
Keep an eye on Darren Evans, the cornerback. He transferred from Nichols. This dude is long, athletic, and can play, but he's still trying to find his way in that secondary. This is an example of being where your feet are. He would have been a big fish in the small pond at Nichols, transferred up to LSU, and is still trying to find his way. But I say all that to say this. Don't forget about this kid's name. Don't forget about his game. This is kind of like the Racey McMath of this year. Remember how last year I kept talking about Racey McMath and he didn't have the stats, but this is someone that's going to find himself on an NFL roster. He ended up getting drafted because of how good he is on special teams. This dude, 6'3", about 180 pounds, lengthy, athletic, Southland Conference, all-conference performer with Nichols, found the football a lot. And when you have a guy that's that long, that athletic, he reminds me a lot of Benjamin St. Juice, who got drafted last year from the Minnesota Golden Gophers, who's a Senior Bowl guy. This is someone that's going to be an underrated player that we're going to talk about during the whole draft process as a height, weight, speed guy, but his game definitely checks out if you go back and watch him back at Nichols. I do like Auburn in this game. I'm taking Auburn in the points.
What are we doing on the spread? Oh, Auburn in the points. Okay. Likes Auburn in the points. Check out Emory always at FBall Game Plan on Twitter, Football Game Plan on YouTube. You heard his games this weekend. Emory, great stuff as always.
Appreciate you, man. Good luck this weekend at Western Michigan Buffalo. Last time you was on Buffalo, we got greatness. So I want to see greatness this week again.
Oh, man, I hope so. Speaking of greatness, if you're looking for more stopping power from your brakes, go with Duralast Elite brake pads, available exclusively at AutoZone. We all know Duralast parts are proven tough, but Duralast Elite is on another level. They're made with advanced technology to deliver reliable stopping power for 3 times longer than a typical Duralast pad. That is good news, especially if you find yourself in a lot of stop-and-go traffic, or if you typically drive with heavier loads in your car. They've got this fancy protective hex pattern. I don't know what that means, but it sounds delicious. Sounds good. Hex pattern, like I think it's a bunch of like crosses or something. I don't know, but it works. Keeps them performing longer, safer, smoother, quieter stops. And since AutoZone has over 6,000 locations nationwide and more ways to shop online and in store, you will have no problem picking up a set when you need them most. The future of stopping, it starts with Duralast Elite brake pads only at AutoZone. You can also check out the Even Money podcast if you like. Emery's bets on the games. You'll love me and Steve Fezzik betting on the NFL games. We are killing it so far this year. I'm up 9 units. He's up 13 units. Tell everybody you know about the Even Money podcast. We are raking in the dough, and it is so fun. Check us out on social media, always at Ross Tucker Pod. I'm at Ross Tucker NFL. You know, people that listen to other shows, the Ross Tucker Podcast, spread the word winner via social media, and I'm giving away a Madden. Just sign up for keeps. Get that first month free. Forward it to me, Ross at RossTucker.com, and I'll give you a Madden. It's that easy if you are the first one and the one I choose. Other than that, the keg is kicked. We're all tapped out.
Thanks for listening to the College Draft Podcast. Make sure to also subscribe to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, Fantasy Feast, Even Money, and The Business of Sports. All available at Apple Podcasts, RossTucker.com, or wherever podcasts can be found.
A lot of times on the show, I mentioned DraftKings. Here's what you need to know. You got to be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER, or in Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT. By the way, if what I was talking about included a deposit bonus, doesn't always, sometimes it does. Deposit bonus requires 25 times playthrough, and deposit bonuses are paid out in site credit.